Hey, so a little tidbit on this thing commonly called common law copyright. When it all boils down to it, it's really based on the rule of self-authentication. Now, before you run about doing some common law copyright, what most people are usually instructed to do is to file your own common law copyright at a recorder or clerk of any given county, and then take that out and put it in a newspaper, and bam, there it is. But one thing those people who give you those instructions don't tell you is why that works. They just go on about it being ancient and archaic and you have the right to your property. Yes, all that is right. But how do you actually put it to use? It's based on self-authentication. Your mere act of taking that certified copy that you've put into the clerk's office and then using that certified copy and putting it into a publication that runs bi-weekly, weekly, whatever the increment is in your local area, that itself makes it self-authenticated. So now whenever you're trying to state a claim regarding a given property, slogan, name, whatever it is, if you're trying to use that property similar to a trademark or a service mark or assumed name, which is along the same line, the only difference is just very, very, very mild. But in this case, you're just calling it common law copyright. One thing they fail to tell you is the only reason why it works is based on law of self-authentication. Now, that I just explained regarding common law copyright is basically a DIY version of what you would normally do if you were to do a DBA. You file it at a clerk and they run it in a newspaper. In some state, they don't even do that. It's done directly at the Secretary of State. And then they give you a copy with their official seal, which makes it self-authenticated. Now, in certain circumstances, if you were dealing things like marriage or other types of personal property, then it might have some weight if you're doing it yourself method. But if you're using if you're copyrighting a name or a slogan or something of that nature, why not just use the official means that already exist? Because those official means that already exist have laws backing them up as to how you're going to hold them liable and monetary relief attached to it. Because whether you do it yourself by putting it into a clerk and then running a newspaper yourself, or whether you utilize the formalities that already exist, which doesn't limit you really. It really doesn't if you know what you're doing. It does not. In fact, it's to your advantage. So if you do it yourself versus if you use the formality according to the state common law, which is the compiled statutes or codes and statutes of your state, it's the same thing. The only foundational difference is when you do it your way, which is the DIY common law copyright that most people go after, that they don't know how to enforce because there's no way to really enforce it. How do you enforce something? Meaning if someone wants to come take your stuff, how do you hold them liable financially? Instead of doing all these other extra external steps, just use what's already existed to your benefit, which are your state laws regarding DBAs and copyright. And on a federal level is the Lemon Act, which is modified in some other ones, which we'll go over in the future. It already stipulates when, where, how. So while most of what most people do on one hand, it's just a similitude or a copy of what's already pre-established. These state laws exist for a reason. Use it. Don't allow all these so-called big corporations that you hate so much, don't allow them to use it to kick your ass with it and you're just abandoning it. Put it to use. You are the people of the state of so-and-so or the whatever state, whatever it is, put it to use. Yeah, the state of is a corporate entity. We know that. We know that. All these states, United States was meant to be corporate entities since their inception. But you have a pivotal role in that trust as a stakeholder, as the beneficiary and the protector of the integrity, the spirit and intent of those laws in the founding document called the Constitution. So don't abandon it. If all these state common laws are created in harmony with the Constitution that created that entity, don't run away from it. What are you afraid of? It is your birthright to engage in commerce. If you're trying to attach monetary relief to whatever it is you're saying that, hey, if you trespass against my common law copyright, you owe me. Believe it or not, that's commerce. And just because someone has been conditioning you to hate one thing or the other doesn't necessarily make it valid. The system is perfect and it's meant to be used to your benefit. Stop abandoning that which is yours. This is the reason why if you do your common law copyright, then you send them all these 20, 30, 10, 15 pages of paper saying if you trespass against my common law copyright, you're going to pay me this much, this amount and that amount. Let's say worst case scenario occurs and they do trespass against your common law copyright, the DIY method that you did, which is cool. But whoever taught you that DIY method of common law copyright did not teach you the rule of self-authentication on the state or federal level. So you don't even have these foundational knowledge to bring in as preponderance of evidence beyond just copies of things. Yeah, you can bring in the copies, but where's your explanation and breakdown of what you're doing? They look at the substance of what you're bringing, not the title of what you say your paper is. And the substance is how you break things down, your intent. And on top of that, if you bring all that stuff, you're saying, well, yeah, I did an administrative process, so this guy owed me this amount. How's that enforceable? How are they really bound to that? So you're saying silence is an acquiescence, right? But where's the good faith in it? Where's the agreement of both parties? You're saying if you don't respond within this amount of time, you agree. Okay, what law binds them to that? And what makes them obligated to you to respond? You see where this is going? The contract makes the law, sure. But are you engaging in a good faith contract? Or are you just doing a unilateral contract and thinking somebody's going to be held liable? Stop fooling yourself. The system is perfect. It's meant to be used. Use it. There are state and federal laws governing copyright and assumed names and trademarks and service marks. Do the research, it's there. And then use the principles of evidence, the law of evidence, and the fact that all those are self-authenticated. The common law is the law of the state. Stop letting these people fool you with some shit that feels good. You feel like you're doing something special, but in truth, you're running away from the substance of what's been created. You're saying that's their stuff, that's their stuff. No, it's not. If you really knew the foundation of all these states, you would know that it's yours. It is yours. Stop abandoning it. So that's a little tidbit on common law copyright. Do it. This is not a deterrent. This is not to kind of sway you away from it. Do it. But do know when it's crunch time for you to enforce anything to make anyone liable on a criminal level or on a civil level. You're not going to be able to do shit. You're just going to be jacking yourself off. You're just going to be intellectually jacking off. They're going to dismiss your case. You're going to feel like, okay, I filed a suit. Yes, I felt that. I felt good. But how did it end? Did you just wasted all your time and printed all those papers for nothing? Or did you actually hold someone liable financially or some more? Think about that. Stop and think about it. When you do these things, you actually want results. Don't just do it just for the sake of saying, okay, I've done that. I can check that off my bucket list. No, that's called a waste of time. At least as it pertains to things of this nature. You truly want to protect yourself and you really want to deter others from trespassing from you. Those who really know how these things work, if they see you do a common law copyright on something very valuable, you're food. You're well-seasoned food. They will come for you and they will take that which rightfully belongs to you. because you're busy jacking off somewhere in the corner, thinking you got something going on. So while you still got the chance, do it right. Sit down. Read the laws that govern these things that you're doing, because it's there for you to use. If not, all these other people on the other hand that you hate so much or that you talk so much shit about, they're putting it to use. But it was meant for you. And if only you knew. If only you knew.